For the longest time, I would use my memory to track my progress in the gym. When I would go to the gym, I think for myself, wait, I did 12 reps last time, right? Then I guess my way through the workout, hoping that I'm actually making improvement. And if I'm being honest, I see so many people doing the same thing. They track everything in their head, and that's exactly why their progress stalls. Because here's the truth, if you're not tracking what you're doing in a way that you can actually see it, you won't be making progress. You'll just be repeating the same things that you are already doing. So in this video, I'll show you the right way to track your progress, how to measure real improvements, and the biggest mistakes that hold people back from seeing consistent results. Look, tracking your workouts is one of the simplest things you can do, but it's also one of the most powerful things you can do. When you first start training, almost everything works. You lift, you eat, and you see progress. But as you move past the beginner phase of your lifting journey, your progress starts to slow down. And if you're not tracking your workouts, you have no idea if you're improving or if you're just staying at the same place. Progressive overload only works if you know what you did in your last sessions. And you can't only rely on memory for that. The gym is built on feedback loops. You train, you track, you adjust, and you improve. Take away the tracking and you break the loop. Meaning, your workouts will feel the same even if you are working hard. That's why I say tracking isn't optional. Most people think that they are tracking progress, but in actual fact, they are only guessing. They go by how they feel instead of what they have actually done. They look in the mirror hoping to see a difference, or they look at the scale thinking that that's the only way to measure their change. But the problem with doing that is that those things fluctuate constantly. Your weight changes based on your water intake, your food intake, and your sleep. Your reflection changes based on lighting, angles, and perception, which means that you can't rely on those factors as accurate feedback. I used to do the same thing, looking in the mirror all the time, trying to see if my arms have finally been growing, or my chest, or my legs. And because I wasn't tracking, I didn't realize how inconsistent my progress actually was. When you don't track what you do, you can't control it, you can't change it, you can't improve it, because you're guessing your way through the process instead of managing it. And here's the truth. Tracking doesn't have to be complicated. You just need a simple system that shows you what you did and whether you've improved or whether you haven't. The way I track my workouts is very simple. I use an app called Strong. What this app allows me to do is it allows me to log all my workouts, my workout routine, the amount of reps, the amount of sets I did, even my rest times. I can change it in the app. And another thing that this app allows me to do is it allows me to see what I did in the past, my history of my workouts. This allows me to instantly see if I'm making progress on my lifts. You can use an app or even a notebook. The tool doesn't matter that much. What matters is that you record your data after every training session, because that's the only way you can make small, measurable improvements over time. When you start to track your workouts, you start to notice patterns. Which exercises am I stalling at? Am I recovering enough? And which areas am I getting stronger at? And that's the key difference between someone that works hard and someone that works smart. And here are 3 key things that I recommend that you should be tracking consistently. Firstly, it's your lifts, your reps, your sets, and your weight. This is your foundation. You need to know if your numbers are going up over time. Even small jumps like 1 or 2 extra reps mean progress. And the second thing to track is your body weight. Take an average each week. This helps you understand whether you are actually in a surplus, a maintenance, or a deficit. And the third thing you should be tracking consistently is your strength and your performance. Don't just track your lifts. You should also notice how it feels differently. Were you stable doing the exercises? Was your form cleaner than the last time? Those small details matter, especially if your goals is longevity and control. Tracking gives you feedback. Feedback gives you data. And when you see that data, you will know exactly whether you are improving, staying the same, or actually becoming worse. And by knowing that, that's how you can improve it at a later stage. So once you have your data, the next step is using it. Look back at your history and ask yourself these questions. Am I lifting more than I did last month? Are my key movements improving? Is my recovery improving? If you're plateauing, you'll see it clearly in the numbers that you have tracked. That means you can finally adjust the training volume, your nutrition, or your rest. But There's also a different side to tracking that most people don't realize, and that's the mental side. When progress feels invisible, when you look in the mirror and you can't clearly see if you are changing, those workouts that you have tracked is proof that you are making progress. You can literally see your effort turning into progress on the screen. That helps you build confidence and it keeps you consistent. On the days where you don't feel so motivated, you can just go look back at the workouts that you have tracked, on everything else that you have tracked, and see the improvement that you have been making over this past few months. That reminds you that you're not starting at ground zero. You are just continuing a story that is already in motion. And that perspective changes everything. You stop chasing quick results and you start focusing on real growth. But before I wrap up this video, I just want to go through a couple of mistakes that I still see people making even though they are tracking. And the first thing that they do is overcomplicating it. Don't have to focus on every single detail at first. Keep it simple. Focus on consistency before precision. And the second thing that they do is ignoring their form. Most people just think about improving their reps and adding more weight to their lifts. But the thing that they don't focus on is if their form is correct. And what that does is you start ego lifting and you stop focusing on the quality of your workouts. And lastly, and probably the worst mistake that most people make when they're tracking, is they compare their numbers to other people. The only comparison that matters is you versus your last session. That's the only thing you should be focusing on. Tracking should simplify your process, not make it more stressful. So, once you start tracking everything, you start noticing small improvements that if you weren't tracking, you wouldn't have noticed in the past. And that's how real progress is made. Through looking at the evidence, looking at the data that you have collected, and seeing whether you're improving, staying the same, or actually becoming worse. And by looking at that data, you can make small adjustments to progress further on your fitness journey. You become the person you want to be by pushing through the times you want to quit.